Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session today on tracking and managing outsourced production with Katana. Let's just give a few moments here to have everyone here. But until we gather, I have a quick question for you to understand where everyone is at. So if you can take a second or two to answer this question, uh, so we would understand better what is your current situation. Alrighty. And while you do this, gonna introduce first myself. I am Laura from the product marketing team here in Katana, and I will be moderating this session to make sure that you can track and manage your production, the outsourced production in the most effective way with Katana. So what's the plan for today? We'll cover some of the basics. Who is it for? What is it in Katana? What are the two different main workflows we support for outsourcing? And after that, we'll do a deeper dive into the product and how to set up outsourcing in Katana. We'll share some best practices and cover those two workflows. And followed by that, we'll talk about how to track and measure the impact. And we'll dedicate some time for your questions. So anytime you have anything, please feel free to add those to the Q&A box that you can see here in Zoom. So don't hesitate to ask anything. We'll answer as many as we can live, and if we don't get to yours, we'll make sure to follow up with you. But without further ado, I'll first introduce who will be doing the main talking here, our hosts, Logan and Chris, who are both customer success managers here in Katana, helping companies like yours to manage their everyday workflows with Katana. And I'll hand this first over to Chris.
Hey everyone. Thank you, Laura. Before I pass it on to Logan to talk more of the nitty-gritty of how to set things up, I just want to talk a little more about what outsourcing is. We certainly serve a wide range of clients. I know that I've talked with a lot of clients and they all have their own niches, all have their own differences. So we want to make sure that we define how Katana handles outsourcing and how that relates to the majority of the workflows that we see. For us, outsourcing is any business that doesn't fully manufacture in-house. So if you outsource any step in your production process, whether it's at the beginning, the middle, or the end, whether that's someone packaging for you, or if there's a certain certification that you don't want to get your company involved in, and you send it over to a third party that has that certification, that sort of thing. Or at the very beginning, or the entire thing. So anytime you don't see certain steps in-house, and you send it to someone else to do it for you, that to us is outsourcing. Or you might not do any of that now. You might be considering outsourcing as you grow. Obviously, a lot of more clients are doing that because it does lower costs. You don't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars maintaining a facility just to get a certification when you can send it to someone else to do it for you. And then that allows you to focus your internal resources a little better. Maybe give it to marketing or to product design, that sort of thing. So if that's kind of where you're at as well, this is webinar hopefully is going to be useful for you. Can we move on to the next slide? Yeah, so how we define or how our clients define outsourcing, as you see on the screen there. Once these are building, we lose visibility. That's actually a real quote from a client of ours. Um, a lot of clients have trouble finding out whether or not your contractors have what they need in-house, or if they have too much, they might charge you for overstocking their warehouses for a long period of time. Um, a lot of clients don't really know where things are at, and that's where Katana comes in, being able to see where things are at any given time, having that visibility at your fingertips with the system that you're already using. So that's kind of why this outsourcing is important. Um, Next one, please. So our solution for outsourcing, we call them outsourced purchase orders, OPOs for short. The reason it's actually something that I struggled with when I first started as well, because we talk about outsourced manufacturing. So why do we call it outsourced purchasing? The reason is for a majority of clients, what we find that they care most about is three things: whether or not your contractors have what they need in terms of ingredients to complete the job, whether or not they can complete the job on time, and also how much you're paying them to complete the job. Generally speaking, you're not really looking into how much they paid their staff, whereas compared to our traditional manufacturing orders, you're looking at the labor cost and the time spent on each step. Not something that you would look at in outsourcing, just because you more or less only care about what you have to pay that third party company. So the solution for Katana is how much ingredients you're sending over and how much you're buying, or how much you're paying that third party to buy back that finished product, that completed step. So for us, that's an outsourced purchasing order, and that cost that you are paying that third party, as well as the ingredients cost that you're sending over to the partner provider, is now added automatically as part of the COGS for that particular product. So outsourcing in general falls into two categories in Katana terms. Obviously, as I said, clients have different niches and things like that, but generally speaking, they are either partially outsourcing. So if there's one or multiple steps within your manufacturing process that you send out something and you get back something and then you continue manufacturing. So as I said before, if there's a certain dangerous chemical that you don't want your staff to have to get certification for, so you send it to a third-party facility, but you get something back and you continue the process afterwards, or finishing a paint coat or some kind of coating at the end of the step, or someone that's just packaging for you at the end. But you do the rest of the manufacturing in-house. So that's, to us, is partially outsourcing. And then the other side is fully outsourcing, where you're just sending over raw ingredients for a third party. They are doing the entire step, or maybe 99% of all the steps, and you get something back, and you're mostly dealing with the sales orders and making sure that orders are sent out on time, and the inventory being sent over and how much you're buying in, as opposed to the actual manufacturing itself. So that's, to us, is fully outsourcing. So I'm gonna pass this over back to Laura to get a little more info.
Yes. Meanwhile, Logan can get all set up. And even though I did already get some feedback about being main kind of goal being here, that you would like to know more and or how to use Katana more effectively for outsourcing from the first poll. I still want to know how confident do you feel using it today. So I'll let Logan get set up her screen share, and you can take the quick poll again. Alrighty, I think Logan, you can kick it off.
Perfect. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm happy to talk about outsourced purchasing. As Chris mentioned, previously, before I stepped over into the customer success side, I did onboarding for the last 2 years. And outsourced purchasing was one of those kind of sticky points with onboarding, where it was kind of hard to get a grasp on, but once you kind of do the flow at least once, it starts to stick. The best way to look at an outsourced purchase order is a hybrid between a manufacturing order and a purchase order. So, in order to make sure that we have our account set up correctly to facilitate an outsourced purchase workflow, the first thing we want to do is go into our settings, which we can do by clicking on our name in the top right-hand corner, selecting settings, and we want to go into locations. So as you can see here, I have my selling location set up, but I also want to add a new location so I can track my ingredients at my contractor location. So that's simple, just to add a location. I can add some address information if I want to. And then I want to make sure I'm not going to accidentally sell anything out of this location. And that's it. That's how simple it is to set up your contractor location. Now, once this location is set up, the other thing you want to do is look at the items that you have in your Katana account. So I have a very lucrative business where I sell refurbished VCRs. If we click into this product here, we can see we have the product name, a category, which I recommend to help filter and quickly create outsourced purchase orders and things like that. And then we also have our unit of measure, so how we're going to count that stock in Katana. One of the most important parts about setting up your products is making sure this buy and make option is both selected. This allows you to put it on an outsourced purchase order. Both options need to be selected. If you've already set up your products before and maybe buy is selected or just make is selected, within the settings, you can go under data import, under update products and safety stock levels, and you can update these toggles in bulk using that template. And the other thing we want to make sure is that we have a SKU and then a default sales price if we want to. Then the other thing is we have our BOM or a recipe that makes up this item. So just to keep it simple, I have component 1 and component 2. These are components that I purchase and I send to my contractor's location. Then the other thing to note is that we don't add any production operations to this outsource or to this product because, as Chris mentioned previously, within an outsourced purchase order, operations are not tracked because we don't have a way to track them. We're only going to track the BOM recipe items and then your purchase price for the line item that you're purchasing. That's either a finished good or a subassembly. The other thing I recommend doing is setting up supply details so that you can quickly purchase these items. So we have our default supplier here. We have our lead time, our minimum order quantity if it's applicable, and then also a default purchase price, which can be overwritten on the outsourced purchase order. So now that we have our location set up, we have our items set up, let's go into one of our sales orders here. So if I go into this sales order made by Elle Woods, one of my VIP customers here, we can see that she is purchasing our refurbished VCR. And as you can see, we don't have any of the sales items available, nor do we have any of the ingredients available. The first thing I want to do is select this blue box beside the line item, and I want to click outsource. What this is going to do is it's going to create an outsourced purchase order for this line item correlated to the sales order here. So I have my quantity, my supplier. If there was anything else missing from the supplier, I can add it to the outsourced purchase order. And then the most important section here is where is this finished good or subassembly being sent to? And you can see it's being sent to my selling location. And then where are my ingredients being tracked from? So I want to track them from my contractor location. Two options here: create an open order, which is going to bring me to my outsourced purchase order that I've just created, and create and close, which will create the outsourced purchase order, but keep me in the sales order. I'm going to hit create and open the order to bring me in the outsourced purchase order, which you can always access by underneath the buy section here, and there's the outsourcing section for the outsourced purchase orders. So again, as we mentioned previously, we have our supplier, order number. If there's an order currency, we can change it as well. We have our line item. So in this scenario where it's a full contract manufactured item, this is just the finished good that I'm purchasing, the quantity, my price per unit. So this is going to be the service charge, labor charge, whatever this supplier is charging me to build this item for me. And then we also have another tab here where we can track the ingredients. So then we can see component 1, component 2, based off the BOM of the item that we set up previously. And we see the cost for these components individually, and we can also see that we don't have them available here. So what I can do is right from this section here, similar to the sales order, I can click the blue box beside and select buy. And what this is going to do is same thing as creating the outsourced purchase order, except now I'm creating the purchase order for the components within it. And because I'm missing both components and both components use the same supplier, I can just select this add other missing items from the same supplier to my purchase order. Again, I'm just going to create and open this order. It's grabbing just the components I need to build this out. And I'm actually just going to double up this quantity because I'm going to go through a partial outsourced manufacturing flow, and this will speed things up. So we can see we have our PO, the components we're purchasing, and we're shipping them to our contractor location, which is important here. I'm going to receive this purchase order. It's now put those components in stock on my contractor location. Now, if I go into my outsourcing tab here, we can see that the ingredients are now in stock, which means that I can now receive this outsourced purchase order. You need to have the ingredients in stock to receive the purchase order in order for your COGS to be correct. This is very important. The other thing you can add to your outsourced purchase order, any additional information, if you want anything noted, we can add additional costs as well if you want to cover, any shipping costs, freight, customs, other, and you can specify other in this reference column here as needed. And another important thing to mention is that you can always print out these outsourced purchase orders, and you can also email them right to your supplier right out of Katana. So let's go ahead and receive this outsourced purchase order. So now what it's done is it's taken the components out of my contractor location, and it's put this refurbished VCR in my selling location. Now, if I head back to the sales order, we can see that the sales items in stock, my ingredients have been pulled off the shelf, and I can go ahead and deliver this order. So we'll go ahead and we'll deliver it. The other thing to note is once the order is marked as delivered, if you go to the done section of your sales orders, you'll also see that the COGS are applied there too. Now, the second workflow that I'm going to show is a partially outsourced workflow. This means, like Chris mentioned earlier, maybe there's a part of my production that I do out of house. This could be painting, this could be the assembly, just mainly anything that I don't do on my side that I still want to track and have those costs roll into everything. So we're going to go into this sales order, and it's a bit different. So if I click into this item here, you can see it's this refurbished VCR that I sold previously, but now there's a different piece to it. There's a different element. It's custom. I do some custom work to this after I receive it back from my outsourced purchase order. So if I take a look at the BOM is that refurbished VCR. So now that refurbished VCR basically becomes a sub-assembly in my workflow here. The difference on this section is that my production operations are applied to this item, so I can account for my in-house manufacturing operations and the costs applied to them as well. Now, I'm going to pop back into this sales order here. My flow is going to be a bit different because that refurbished VCR is now a sub-assembly. So in order for my workflow to be a bit streamlined and a bit more seamless, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from that manufacturing order. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a make to order manufacturing order right from the line item. And I'm not going to generate an MO for my sub-assembly because my sub-assembly is that outsourced purchase order. So I'm going to hit create and close, and it's going to create the manufacturing order for the sales order here. So as you can see, manufacturing order is created for this custom VCR. And we're missing this refurbished VCR because we only received one in the previous outsourced purchase order that we had. This workflow is incredibly common, and I saw it very often in onboarding, and it's something that Katana accommodates really well. So what we're going to do is from the manufacturing order, similar how we did previously with the other sales order, we're going to take the ingredient line item here. We're going to click the blue box beside it, and I'm going to select outsource. I'm going to ship this subassembly to my selling location, and I'm going to track my ingredients again in my contractor location. Going to just create and open the order. The flow is going to be the exact same as the previous outsource purchasing flow. And like you noticed in my previous outsource purchase order, I purchased extra components, so we did have to create the PO again in this flow. So I have the ingredients in stock. I have my purchase price for this service that my VHS reseller is doing for me, this kind of assembly. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to receive this in. So now I have this in stock. Again, those components are pulled out of my contractor location, so they're accounted for. And now when I go into my manufacturing order, we can see that I have my ingredients in stock, so then I can do the in-house manufacturing and begin those steps. So my worker is now doing some custom button modifications. We mark that as completed. They've done some QA, it's completed. Now we have this custom refurbished VCR in stock, and our customer, Homer Simpson, is going to be incredibly happy because he's getting this order on time. So now again, I'm going to go ahead and mark this as delivered. So now it's out of my open sales orders. It's now in my done sales orders. And you can see that these cogs are applied correctly. The first order here was the one with the full outsourced manufacturing flow. And then this is the one with my in-house manufacturing flow with the outsource item as a subassembly. So you can see that these costs all roll in together, pretty streamlined flow. And that's kind of the two workflows that you see in Katana with outsourced purchasing. Now I'm going to pass the mic back over to Chris so he can walk you through the rest.
Yes. And as I saw from, back to me for a second, as I saw from the previous poll results, a lot of you mentioned you have questions how to use OPO, so please feel free to add them to the Q&A box. And I'm just still a bit more curious on, before I hand it over to Chris, what is the biggest challenge right now you want to solve with outsourced production tracking? So meanwhile, we get things set back up. I'm launching a quick poll here again, and please don't forget to ask your questions away. We'll be taking time to answer these. Alrighty, and I'll hand it over to Chris now.
Thank you. So yeah, as we said before, what Katana tracks within the OPOs is two major keys. It's going to be the ingredients that you are using or you're sending over to your third party to complete either the steps or the manufacturing itself, and then how much they have at any given time, and the cost associated, whether that's the ingredients cost plus the cost that you are paying the third party to help with the manufacturing. So let's go to the next slide. So there are a few places in Katana where you can see that information. The first is really my favorite screen in Katana, which is the inventory intel. Because, as Logan said, the third-party manufacturer is a different location. Under your stock screen, you can switch to that location to see the stock movements and the cost movements of each item. So when you click on those little numbers in the stock screen under that particular location, especially in stock number, you will be able to see things like, how much inventory is sitting in your partner's site. Do they have enough for a big order that's coming up? Sometimes are they calling you to say that they're out of things, but when in reality in Katana you see that they should have things, and it turns out that they're using more than they should. Maybe you need to adjust your bombs or need to work with them on a better process, that sort of thing. So being able to track that cost movements and that stock movement through Katana is going to be very important, so you don't have to go through your emails and go through your spreadsheets again. And as Logan said, the cost movement in your OPOs will affect the COGS, whether that's partial or fully outsourcing will affect the COGS of your sales order in the other location. Let's go to the next one. And then on the OPO itself, under buy outsource, you can see all your done orders in order, so that you can see on a per order basis the ingredients costs of that order, the total cost of that order, how when the delivery date was, so that you can see whether or not it's going to be fast enough for the next step in manufacturing or for your sales order, so you can track that as well. Pro tip, if you go to the export field on or export button on the top right of the outsourced purchase order screen, you actually get a spreadsheet with about 20 plus different fields. A lot of clients miss that, so I wanted to bring that up. Make sure that you guys know that even if you don't see it on a list view in Katana, the export is going to be very helpful in terms of being able to see more in terms of your orders. Yeah, let's go to the next one. So insights, I'm actually going to share my screen on this one just to kind of walk through the insights a little bit. Let's see here. So insights, honestly, is one of the things that a lot of clients don't utilize, I would feel, enough. First of all, the insights for your outsourced purchase orders, you need to go to the purchasing insights. And then on the left side, the filters are actually quite powerful. Under types of purchase orders, make sure you filter for your outsourced purchase orders. That allows you to filter it out from the regular purchase orders. And now all the data you're looking at is just on your outsourced purchase orders. And then you can obviously filter for time and filter for item category, item name, item SKU, that sort of thing. On this particular one, under the overview, you'll be able to see more so on a oversight how much you're spending on outsourcing over time, how much your lead time has been changing over time, and on a product level, how much you're on average outsourcing for each product and how much that's costing you. You can obviously break that down by product as well. I really like these little charts that allows you to kind of see it within my dedicated time frame how much I'm outsourcing and the price per unit, if that matches up with what I expect to be spending on my products. Under the supplier side, so up here you can click on supplier. What you get is then the same information but in a supplier lens. So how much I'm paying each supplier, whether that's changing over time, whether I'm paying more and more over time, or less as they get better in their manufacturing. And then the spend per supplier charts down here as well. And then the lead times. So that's also very important so that you know that you are getting the product that you need on time for the next step. Or if there's a supplier out there that is not matching what you're expecting them to be able to provide for you. So let's go back to the spreadsheet, to the slides, please, Laura. Perfect. So yeah, and again, insights is a part of Katana that I feel like it's underutilized. So make sure you click around on it. There's a bunch of really cool stuff on there that you can get reports out of, if you haven't already. Hopefully we've been able to cover most of the use cases in terms of outsourcing. If you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, the key with outsourcing, just to kind of sum it all up, is visibility and cost, making sure that you have visibility into your ingredients and making sure you have visibility into the cost that you're spending. If the workflow that you have, again, as I said at the very beginning, each client has niches in terms of their manufacturing. So if you can't quite figure out where your niche fits in terms of our outsourcing, or you feel like you need a little more help, make sure you talk to your CSM. If you don't know who your CSM is, reach out to the support team on the bottom right of Katana. They'll be able to tell you. If you're really lucky, you'll get Logan. If you're less lucky, you might get me. But we should all be able to help you out in terms of working through how we can better utilize outsourcing for your particular needs. Yeah, any questions?
Yes, and that takes us, thank you, Chris. And that takes us to our Q&A portion. So Chris and Logan will answer your questions now. So if you haven't already, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A box. So I'll just take a few. For starters, we have a couple already here. And there was a question around Shopify Collective. We have a customer who started using it to sell third-party products through their store, but fulfilled by them. They used outsourced purchase order for this as it seemed the right way to do. Is this what you guys have seen other customers do it? And might be similar to drop shipping, and if there's something in the Shopify integration that would create these automatically for the collective orders. Or if they need to set up a location for each supplier that they are doing in collective, and if they need to do anything with the stock at that location.
Good question. I'd have to just look into the Shopify Collective just to see if there's anything automated. But my first question back is, let me just read it aloud again. It's just if you're selling the third-party products through your store, but it's fulfilled by them, I guess my question is there any components or ingredients that need to be tracked, or are they just fulfilling those orders for you with items?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here what we can do, we can have our CSM reach out to you, and we can take it from there and book a call if needed to kind of go over that workflow and what's the best option there. Then another question, what's the best way to add shipping between warehouses for additional assembly?
Yeah, I would think that if you are sending things to a warehouse that you also own, it would make sense to use an outsourced purchase order. Correct me if I'm wrong, Logan, but it would make sense to add an outsourced purchase order. And the cost that you're paying for shipping, you would roll that into the cost of the outsourced purchase order, so that you can add that to the COGS organically. So your warehouse would be the second location, and you're essentially one location is buying something from the other location while paying a shipping fee. And that's going to be rolled into the cost of the outsourced purchase order.
Logan, anything you want to add there?
Nope, I think Chris answered that perfectly.
Alrighty. Then another one is to do with stock transfers. What is the best way to go about correlating your stock transfers to your OPOs? When an OPO is created and materials move to the contractor's location, then a customer will do a stock transfer. And they're looking forward to attach it to the OPO so they could keep track of the materials better.
I think until we have a direct link in Katana, the easiest way is going to be hyperlinking the stock transfer or the outsourced purchase order in the additional information section of each item.
Thank you, Logan. Then there's a question about integrating Katana with the CAD platform. Can I use Katana to distribute working drawings or the tech back to outsourced managers and communicate inside the Katana below the order is released for manufacturing? Is there any way to better communicate with the contract manufacturers and integrate it with CAD platforms?
It depends on what the file looks like. It would probably have to be a link in the description of the OPO, in the additional info section that you can then send over as a PDF for your contractor. You might be able to set up automation outside of Katana, but in Katana, the additional info site with the link to the drawing is probably the best bet.
Alrighty. Is the outsourcer able to view Katana as well?
If you give them access to your Katana account, so you can add them as a user, but then restrict their location access to only the location that is their contractor or contractor location, sorry. Otherwise you can email those documents directly to them. So just really depends if you want to give them access to your Katana instance. And if you are going to do that, I really recommend setting user permissions so they only have access to the particular location that you want them to see. So yeah, it's really only if you give them access to your Katana account.
Yeah. Thanks. Then another one, for our products that have bombs, we have some ingredients that we do not want tracked. How do we set this up?
I would take them out of the bombs. I mean, if you don't need them tracked, then they don't need to be part of the bomb, because the bomb is the way that Katana calculates the cost of your product. But if it's insignificant enough that it's not something that you want to track, like tape or something like that, then it shouldn't be part of your bomb.
And the other thing to add too is on the outsourced purchase order, when you're in the ingredients tab, you do have the option to delete specific ingredients off of the BOM within the outsourced purchase order too, so you get a bit more flexibility there.
Thanks, guys. Then about handling process that can be done or made in-house, but also out of house. One situation could be the OPO, and one scenario would be an internal manufacturing order, both using the same sub-assembly as the starting point. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, there's nothing in Katana that stops you from using either a MO or an OPO for a product, as long as the BOM is in there. For the MO, it would be better to have the operations in as well, which isn't relevant in an OPO. But Katana will allow you to create a MO for a product or an OPO for a product for the same product. It's just that the COGS then would be a little different, because then in an MO you don't have that additional fee that you're paying for the third party. So it's it could be a little cheaper, but you'll be able to track whether or not something was created in an OPO or bought in an OPO or created in an MO in your stock movements, and that finished product will still be added to your stock the same way.
Yeah, and just have to make sure that the buy and make both are enabled for that product.
Yeah, we definitely have clients who do that. It really depends on whether or not you have it depends on volume, right? So we can only handle, or you can handle so much in-house. Anything else you have to send off to an outsourced facility. And so you create the MOs until you can no longer handle more volume, so you outsource the rest. And we definitely have clients who do that.
Thanks, Chris. We have another one on sharing Katana with a contractor. Can they have a limited access, for example, to update due dates or stock availability without having full access to all inventory in Katana?
Yep, so it's the same kind of answer as before. If you want to get access, you can limit the location access, but just be cognizant of the user permissions that you can give to a contractor as well. So yes, you can add them in and they can make some adjustments on their side for stock availability. But I would just be very, like I said, cognizant of the permissions that you're giving them and the access that you give them. Yeah.
Alrighty, thank you, Logan. Then Question about yield loss or scrap rates. Can Katana record these from outsourced production runs?
Katana can in Katana in an outsourced purchase order, you still have the planned and actual product, the quantity, that's the word I was looking for, in an outsourced purchase order. So you should be able to at least say you had planned for a certain amount, but you only got less back. Um, in terms of your, you should be able to change the quantity when you complete an outsourced purchase order.
Logan, anything you want to add for that one?
Yeah, it would just be manually adjusting that quantity before it's
Yeah.
received. And then I would also maybe use the additional information field as well, just to leave some comments if you want to just specify why there was a difference between what was planned and what was actually received.
Yep. Thanks. Now, do lead times on outsourced purchase orders roll up automatically into MRP planning?
Yep, it's going to take your your receive date and roll that into all the planning for the modules. There was also a question about if you purchase ingredients for an item, send it to another supplier for the ingredient to be assembled. So in that case, it sounds like the ingredient that's being assembled is going to be a sub-assembly. So it's going to be a product as well, so that it could have something done to it. Or maybe it's just a purchase order with additional costs. Really depends if that ingredient if more or less that ingredient needs a bomb or anything to be consumed by it.
Thanks, Logan, for taking that one too. Now, as there are few steps involved in creating one OPO, how, in case the volumes are higher or there are hundreds of different items in one delivery, how do customers outsource that? So 300 different items, for example, in one delivery.
I mean, it's possible. It depends if if the 300 they're all different items, okay. It's possible to do that. I mean, the quickest way probably to get all 300 items in one delivery would probably be going by the stock screen or replenishment tab if you have the planning and forecasting add-on, and then bulk selecting everything that's outsourced and then creating an outsourced purchase order from there. It's most likely 300 different items in one delivery. Unless you're kind of bulk selecting, creating outsourced purchase orders, it'll be manual, but you can also use the API to kind of automate those flows as well.
Alrighty, thank you. Then let's take like 3 more as we're approaching our time here. But for our OPOs that we send to suppliers, we make garments that have specific requirements, buttons, stitching, and so on. Are we able to send POs to supplier with sketches? I think that goes back to adding this as a hyperlink in the additional information field, and you can send this out to your contractor, the outsourced purchase order directly from Katana, and they will able to see that link there to access the sketches. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Logan or Chris.
You're so right.
Great. Then in OPOs and POs, I'm able to reject items. Sometimes I receive products that are damaged but don't want to create the whole new OPO.
Yeah, it would be the same similar answer to before. You would have to change the quantity on the on either PO and OPO itself. And then, as Logan said, leave a note is probably the best idea, just to make sure that you know exactly what happened.
And then few ones here still. If a vendor gives cost breaks at quantity tiers, how is that structured?
It would be on a PO level. If I don't know if Logan has a better answer, but on a PO level, if you can adjust the cost that you are or the price of each product, price of each unit of product that you are purchasing back from your third party. So for higher quantity numbers, you would just lower the price there, and that new number will roll into the COGS.
Alrighty. And then can we attach inspection steps or quality control checks before completing the PO? Yes,
Not,
the answer really there is no, right?
yeah, not currently. It would have to be part of your own internal SOPs for before you receive the POs in Katana.
Yep. And any preferred hosting platforms, methods for these files that are sent to contractors for outsourcing?
Any cloud drive will work as long as the file is accessible online in a drive.
Thank you both, and thank you for the question. One last one from me. From the poll results, a lot of our attendees here mentioned that they're not sure if they're using, but not sure if they're using OPOs in Katana, but not sure if doing it right. Question for you too, Chris and Logan. What's the kind of one thing you see customers are overlooking that might cause maybe problems down the line?
Biggest one that I usually see is that like on your purchase components or even the outsourced purchase order line item is just making sure those costs are in there. So when you're creating those purchase orders for your components, just ensuring that those purchase orders have costs associated to the line items and they're received. Same with the outsourced purchase order, making sure you have that purchase price if there's a service charge that you want to account for. Because it all rolls into the COGS, right? So we want to make sure that you have the cost correct on the components, the cost is correct on the item that you're purchasing. And the other thing is just to make sure that you have enough component stock in stock to receive that outsourced purchase order. Because Katana uses a moving average cost, anytime you go into a negative inventory or you're not accounting for costs, it's going to throw off your costs. So biggest one for me is just triple checking costs.
Yeah, and for me, it's basically setting defaults where you can. So making sure your bombs are set up, making sure that your default lead times are set up for your suppliers, your default costs are set up for your suppliers so that you don't have to, you can reduce the work needed to create an OPO. And secondly is to remember that Katana always works chronologically, so making sure that you do the stock transfer or the POs of the raw ingredients before you handle the OPO, because you need to make sure that that second location has that ingredients before you can complete the OPO itself.
Alrighty. Thank you both, and great questions, everyone too. So again, if you need any hands-on help, then feel free to reach out to your customer success manager or to our support team. You can reach them just via the chat box in Katana to get any help or personalized guidance. And as there were already questions around if we will share the recording, yes, we will definitely. We'll send it to you via email with some helpful resources, articles on contract manufacturing in Katana, and videos of both of the workflows. Very grateful that you guys attended. Thankful for you, Chris and Logan, for guiding us through why outsourcing, how outsourcing in Katana, and from everyone who joined the webinar. Would love to hear your feedback to know if the webinar was helpful for you and how we can make the future sessions even better. So thanks again for spending time with us today, and big thanks again to Chris and Logan for walking through us everything, and we'll wrap it up here. Any last words, Chris, Logan?
Thanks everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate you listening to Outsourced Purchasing, as riveting as this is. I think Chris did an amazing job, and Laura, thank you too for all of your hard work. And yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And
everyone.
if there were any questions unanswered in the Q&A that were dropped in last minute, we'll make sure to get back to you via email and reach out. Alrighty, take care, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.